All right, welcome back. So we got Patrick Butler back for part 2 on the last podcast with him. I suggest you listen to it. We talked about some building automation stuff. And if you weren't involved in building automation in the past, or you want to get into building automation, it's sort of a good precursor, just a good sort of basic idea of what it is. But anyway, on this episode, we're going to talk about how teaching has sort of changed in the industry, and it's not old school anymore like the way it was. Wrenches being thrown and the way apprentices get treated is a little different, and we can teach online now. We can teach on Instagram, we can teach on TikTok. It's unbelievable the amount of information we have access to, but you got to be careful who you follow, right? So this is part 2 with Patrick Butler. Let's get to it, guys. This is the HVAC Know It All podcast. I'm your host, Gary McCready. This podcast is sponsored by Cool Air Products, Master, Cintas, and supplyhouse.com. Go to the show notes and click on the links to check these guys out. You wanted to talk about originally, now that we've gone through some technical stuff and done a little bit of teaching, you wanted to talk about the way people were taught in the past as compared to now. And like, we're probably roughly, how old are you, Patrick?
44.
44. Okay. So I'm
I got in the
46.
field in 2005.
Okay, cool. So I got into the field probably 2001, but I spent 2 years in school. So 99 is really when I got into the trade. So we're very similar in age. I've seen the old school teachings. One of my courses in college, taking my apprenticeship, there was still like one of the older teachers, he still had the big ruler stick or whatever, or pointer stick, and he'd slap it on the desk when you weren't listening. Like, I was taught by people like that. It's funny now because now you can go on TikTok or Instagram, and if you find the right people, you can get taught the same stuff that you got taught in those schools. But the problem is you can't get certified watching Instagram videos or TikTok videos.
Sure.
That could change one day. That could be an interesting topic on its own. But I'm sure you've been through both
Yep.
online and in class. Like, what's
Yeah.
your thoughts?
So my history is I came in knowing nothing. I had a couple years of electrical apprenticeship and I got into HVAC and I went through the union I'm in has a 5-year apprenticeship. So it's a formal training and it's at night. It's 2 nights a week. And you go to a school, which the union owns, and you have all your stuff. You have shop time. So you work during the day and you go 2 nights a week for basically like a US school year, September
Mm-hmm.
to beginning of May.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 2 nights a week. And then when you start getting towards like cooling season, they go down to 1 night a week. And it's a 5-year program. So you're working with journeymen during the day. You're being taught at night, mostly by guys who are in the field who are also teaching, like I was.
Okay.
I taught for 9
Okay.
years there. So I
Okay.
was a journeyman working during the day, doing it, and then teaching it at night, teaching the apprentices. And when I came up, it was a lot more older guys, a little more cutthroat, a little more old school apprentice. Like, you make the breakfast list, you carry all the tools, and you get some verbal abuse. And that's how it was. And you just
Yeah.
kind of dealt with it. You're like, yep, that's just what it is. And you get to some points where it was pretty rough, where I almost walked off jobs. And I'm like, I'm not taking this. Like, I'm here to learn. I'm not going to take the abuse. And it was like a while. And I would say to myself, whenever I got into that position, I would never make an apprentice feel like that. I would always make sure that they're, that they understand what they're there, right? That we're peers. Okay. I've just been doing this longer. We're working together. You're my partner here. I'm also teaching you the trade, but we're peers. We're
Mm-hmm.
in this together. I'm not
Yeah.
going to mistreat you and abuse you verbally and call you names. Sure, light ribbing. I'm not talking about that. But making sure that they feel comfortable to ask the questions, to not feel like I'm going to call him an idiot or a jerk because he asks me what is a thermistor, and I'm like, I told you that 2 weeks ago. What are you talking? No, I explain it again. And I just find that I get better reaction and better retention of that information from the apprentices when I deliver it the way that I do, in a more understanding, almost like primary school way, of like, all right, I'm not saying kid gloves, but just explaining it in a clear cut way, make sure they understand it, they
Yeah.
grasp it, and then we move on. And I've gotten, a lot of great reactions from that.
Yeah. No, I like it because I came up the same way. I remember holding the phone. I called my boss from a supplier. I don't remember why I was calling him, but he asked me if I had a PO or something for the stuff I was picking up. And I was sent there to pick it up by somebody and I don't know who. I guess they didn't give me a PO, and he's like, "Do you got a PO?" And I said, "No." And he just started rifling me. I was holding the phone like out a foot away from my head at the back corner of because it had a little landline at the back corner of the supplier for technicians to use. And he's like calling me stupid and idiot and all this. And I'm like, really? Really? Just because I don't have a PO and I wasn't given a PO by somebody to pick it? Because I was just an
Right.
apprentice at the time.
And
Like
and if you
I
think
wasn't,
about it, you still remember that.
yeah.
So that is like a form of like a trauma because like you literally still recall it and know what it felt like to do that. That's
I recall where I was standing,
yeah.
you know what I mean? I recall, like, what it was like outside, of holding the phone out here. It was nuts, man. It's
Yeah, and
almost like
that's
it's
like
almost like it
trauma.
was a dream. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I guess it's a form of trauma, yeah, I guess it could be.
Sure. The brain doesn't know the difference in trauma, right? Trauma can
Mhm.
be getting yelled at by your foreman, or it could be, having someone burn you or getting hit, right? Your brain interprets it the same way. So it affects you the same way. And that's why I am the way I am because I don't want that. I want apprentices to look back and be like, yeah, Patrick was awesome. Professor, man, he was awesome. He was great to me, taught me so much. That's what I want to be remembered for, the positive impact that I had on them. And it might sound like a Hallmark movie, but I really mean it, man. I love my apprentices. I love my junior techs, and I want them to do better than me. I want them to advance past and because I can look back and be like, hey, you know what? You were a great apprentice, great job, and I'm proud of them. And that's what I think is more impactful for apprentices than
Yeah.
the verbal.
Let me ask you this, because I've had apprentices that were super willing to learn, just wanted
Mhm.
to absorb everything. And if you told them something, they were doing it wrong, they wouldn't get upset, they'd just fix it. But I've had apprentices that were cocky. And even though I
Sure.
told them, you're not doing that right, watching them, they would argue and say, yes, they are. Or they would always be like, they would have this kind of swagger to them that they shouldn't have at that point of their career.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked with an apprentice like that? Have you ever thought, you know what? If he's going to be like that, I don't know if I want to spend my time on them. Have you ever been in that situation?
Yep. So if I have like a confrontational apprentice, and let's say they're wiring a brand new, what do you call those? The Ecobee thermostat, a Wi-Fi thermostat, or whatever, and you're trying to explain to them, okay, you have to power the stat. Oh no, I know, I got it. I'm like, okay, y- you think all right, so we're gonna try it your way. Let's see what happens, and we'll go from there. Let him fail. Because unfortunately, you might have to chip at that ego a little bit. Because let's say you look at him, you go, you know what, he's got potential. We just got to break through that little ego, or you know, get him to be more, have more humility. So I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
let's try it your way.
Yeah.
If you're not wasting too much time, obviously, you're not going to go through a whole half an afternoon, but it
Yeah.
takes, a half hour. Okay, go ahead. Well, let me know when you're finished, and then we'll go, and I'll say, all right, let's test it. Run me through it. And then when he goes and does it and sees that it's wrong and now it's not functioning, that's when we can have a teaching moment. I'm like, okay, well, what do you think's wrong with what you did? And I'll basically have them tell me what I told them at first, in the beginning. I'm like, okay, try that. Oh, okay. So you see now why I was trying to tell you to do this or to make sure common is landed. Right. And you get them, and sometimes you got to chip away at them if you feel they have the potential to do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to say, listen, man, I appreciate you. I think you're doing great and you have potential, but your attitude is affecting how we work. And I don't know if I can work with this. So, you may have to work with some of the other guys. And that's
Yeah.
kind of how I had one guy like that where I had to say, you know what, I'm sorry. Because I don't like really talking ill of guys when they're in their apprenticeship, right? Because they're learning, they're going to
Mhm.
make mistakes, right?
Of
So I'm
course.
like, you know what? I just can't work with that guy. I think I've only done it once in my, let's say, I've been doing it 20 years, out of my apprenticeship 15. So in 15 years, I've maybe done that once where I actually said I can't work with that guy because he was just not teachable.
Yeah. You said something that struck a nerve, is letting them fail. And it's funny that you say that because I didn't start getting good at the trade until I was allowed to fail on my own.
Sure.
Because I think the first 2, maybe even, yeah, 2 years, they just shoved me in a, "Go meet that guy at that guy job. Go meet that guy at that job." And I wasn't progressing. I didn't really know what to do standing on the site. I didn't wanna get in the way of the techs because they were grumpy and they had attitude, a lot of them. Like, you
And
didn't
they're
wanna
trying to get the
touch,
job done and they don't
yeah,
want to sit there
you
or
don't
they
wanna
don't
touch
know
their
good enough.
tools. Like, I've
Yeah.
literally gone into a technician's tool bag to hand him, "I don't need that, put that back." Like, put it back in the right spot. I'm like, "Okay, so I'm just gonna stand here." And then you finally get to a point where the boss goes, "Well, you're not really progressing. You just the reports I get back from the other guys is you just kinda stand around and, like, what are you gonna say? Well, he treats me like shit. He doesn't let me touch his tools. I feel uncomfortable around them." You're at that point, if you're in that type of culture, it's gonna look like it's a negative on you if you're talking this way. So, I was in that position,
Mhm.
and I said to my boss, I said, "Listen, I haven't even been given a chance yet." I said, "Give me a chance. Let me go do something by myself, a
Mm.
couple things by myself." So I started to do that, and man, did I fail a lot,
Sure.
right? Because I was the guy that would go, "Hmm, what does that do?" And I push it. "Hey, if I pull this wire off here, what will this do?" Like, short it out on something and blow a control transformer or
Yep.
something like that. I've done all of this stuff, and that's what you need to do in order to get good at the trade. I'm not saying purposely go out and fail, but be curious and don't be afraid to fail because you're gonna learn from it, is the
Yeah,
message I'm trying to convey.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because the failure moments, small and big, are the teaching moments. That's when you learn. You remember, I ain't gonna do that again, right? So by failing and blowing some things up, you don't want to, but it happens, right? You short something out, ooh, and that's why I always say when you change a unit out, keep some extra transformers, keep some extra boards, extra fuses. It's gonna happen, right? If you have a few extra spare parts that are older, just so if you do something, you can get it back up and running and be like, oh, we got to get a new transformer. But you have something on the truck to get it going. But yeah, you're gonna fail when you're learning this trade. You're gonna make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. But don't try to hide them. Just admit, be honest. Say, hey, I tried to do this. I made a mistake. And I had my service manager Joe, who I worked with he just retired for 20 years. He was the greatest guy if you didn't lie to him. If you tell him the truth and you made a mistake and shorted out a new furnace board or, you broke a pump because you dropped it, if you lied, you didn't want to be on the receiving end of it. But if you told him the truth and say, you know what, I made a mistake. I tried to wire it wrong. I missed this. He'd be like, hey, no problem, buddy. That's all right. We'll get it. Let's do it. Did you learn something? All right. You want me to show you? And he'd be your buddy and be all friendly. But if you lied, no good, right? Be
Mhm.
honest. Admit your mistakes. It's okay. You're going to make them. I make them.
Yeah.
You make them.
Mhm.
Keep your ego at the door. Be humble, and that will really help you grow in this trade. Just asking for help and talking to people.
Yep. I agree with you 100%. Okay, so let me ask you this then.
Mm.
That's kinda the old school stuff we talked about. What about nowadays? Because like I said, you can learn a lot if you follow the right people on any social media platform. There's the right people, there's the wrong people, and if you follow the
Sure.
wrong people and you and you do what they do, you could get yourself into some trouble. But if you find the right people and follow them, you can learn a lot. So what advantage does the young tech have? Even the older guys now that want a refresher or learn about the new stuff, what advantage do they have now with all these people online doing this? Some of
Mm.
them are doing it as they're doing it out of the goodness of their own heart. Some of them are doing it because they want to have a bit of a legacy and be that knowledgeable person in the trade.
Mhm.
Some people have a business doing it where
Sure.
they build courses and stuff like that. So, what
Yep.
is your thought on this whole new online way of learning?
Yeah. So, one advice on following people on TikTok, Instagram, all that. Look at the comments. Like if you want to know if you're learning the trade and you don't know enough yet to know if this guy is what he's doing, is look at the comments. And I say TikTok is the best for new technicians. The comment section and the communities are a lot more accepting and a lot more, understanding and are nicer. So look at their comments. If you see a lot of people praising them and being like, "Oh wow, great job. Oh, thanks. I didn't know that." That's usually a sign that the person is educated on that topic that video is on. Because literally everyone has a phone, anyone can record a video and post it. So there are people on there who are giving some misinformation. But overall, I think there's a lot of really good people on there. And where I started making videos is I started doing things where I've been studying this trade for 20 years. I absolutely love every aspect of it. And I have a very large knowledge base of it because of how much I've taught it. Because right, you learn it really well when you teach it.
Of
So
course, yeah.
I was doing it teaching it, all that, and I'm very fortunate, and I have the passion for this, right? I used to say I have it, or they have it, right? You have it. It's like the passion for this trade to learn. I saw a Dilbert comic that said the knack. Oh, he's got the knack. That's what they used to call it. But anyway, one great source that I've used every day of my life now is AI. I use Microsoft Copilot. There's also one through the Bluon app. They have like a virtual technician, which is an artificial intelligent large language model they're amazing. I use the Copilot one through Microsoft because it's free. And what benefits you have to this? So if I say, Gary, I need, what is the sequence of operation for that Lars boiler? You go, okay, I've never worked on this one. You either have to find the manual or you have to go online. You have to Google it, right? You look up Lars model number, blah, 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 find the right edition, and then read the manual. Well, with AI, you can just talk to it like you would. You'd say, hey, exactly what I said there. Can I have the sequence of operations for a Lars boiler that's 1,000,000 BTUs? It will go on the internet. It will find that manual. It will find the information for that manual, and then it'll show it to you within seconds. So it's time saving as far as getting information and asking questions to someone who has like a knowledge on everything. And what's good about Copilot is it gives you the source. It will give you a little number, and you can click on the link to where it got the information from, which is
Interesting. Okay.
important because some of these AI models can do what they call hallucinate. And it's where they make something up. It's pretty rare when it comes to the Copilot. They give you the sources for all its info, and you basically would talk to it like you were asking a super genius. Where Google, you use keywords to search. You would do Lars boiler sequence 1,000,000 BTU, right? You give keywords to help
Hmm.
get you
Yeah.
what you need.
Yeah.
Where the AI models, you talk to it. The more you give it, the more it gives back. And Gary, it's amazing. Like that's all I look. I don't Google things anymore. I use the Copilot for everything.
Let me ask you this: is it an app,
Yeah,
Copilot, or do you
it's
got?
an
Oh, it
app.
isn't. It is an
It's
app.
an
Okay.
app. It's built into Microsoft Edge web browser, or you can go to Bing, which like no one used Bing before. They'd make fun of it, but it's built into it, and it's very powerful. It's based on Chat GPT. If you've heard of that,
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of most people have heard of the Chat GPT. That's like the big name, like the superstore of it. But this is free. It's access to everybody.
Oh, it's free. So Copilot's 100% free. Okay.
Yep,
Cool.
and there is a paid version that you can do more, but I don't pay. You sign in, you log in with like your Google, or if you have a Microsoft account, you have an Xbox, that means you have a Microsoft account. You use that. There's the app on the phone, and I mean it's so good. It'll even talk to you too. It's really wild, and AI is going to be everywhere. It's already everywhere. So younger people coming into the trade learn to harness the AI and use it because you're going to be behind if you don't. It's like having every best journeyman in your pocket on every topic. It's really amazing. So now there's really if I ask a guy something or they ask me a question, like, oh, what's a GPM flow meter? I'll be like, did you look it up? No. I'm like, well, if you couldn't take just the 2 seconds to pump it into your phone, you know, like, do you really want to know it? Right. So getting them to use research, you're going to do it. You have to read the manual. It's a crucial part of our job. It's not an inexperience or a lack of knowledge. It's a
Yeah.
crucial part of the job. So this just helps in that process.
I'm gonna down. I didn't like. I have some Chat GPT apps, but I've never heard of Copilot. So I'm gonna
It's
download it and
great.
try it out.
I tell everyone about it. It's like I work for them, but it's just such a great tool because it can do anything. It can explain the sequence of operations. If you walk up to a VRF, like you said, a Mitsubishi, City Multi, and if you ask it, "Hey, what is the piping arrangement on this type of unit?" It will go. It'll find the information. It'll show you a diagram. It'll explain what branch boxes are, what those RefNet fittings are, what all that stuff is, and it'll explain it to you. So it's really great for guys who are learning or you want to learn on a topic that you've dabbled in or you want to learn.
Hmm.
It's again, I can't talk about it any better. It's great.
Cool. Well, hey
Generating
man,
emails, you name it, it does it.
it's the future.
It is.
We're here. I've always said you got to harness what you have in front of you to make you better at your job. Don't dismiss it and go
Yeah. Yeah.
because time and time again, when you dismiss things, 5 years later, someone else has been learning it and doing it, and you get caught with your pants down because they're already better than you at it.
Yep, and when some of these big when you start seeing on job interview, on job postings, it's gonna say, proficient in AI. It's just gonna be part of our life in every aspect. So, learning it now and understanding how to use these things and how they work, I really think will help the guys. Like you said, it'll make you advance. Because if your boss says, "Oh, I gotta go send you over here," and you have it done in like 30 minutes because you use the AI to give you the information as far as sequence or how it operates. Now you're not spending the time having to read the manual yourself. You're getting it consolidated, almost like the what do they call those? The cliff notes we used to use, right? For a book or a story, all the highlights. It kind of
Yeah,
can do
yeah,
that for you,
yeah.
and it's
Cool.
it's great.
Awesome, man. Well, Patrick, I mean, this has been great, and we could talk about so many other topics because you're a wealth of knowledge. And hey, man, I'm just here to ask questions. So
Well, thank
that's
you.
what I
I
like to
I
do.
appreciate it.
Ask and learn about the guests and what their expertise is really. So, but thank you, man. Thank you for tonight, and we'll talk again soon for sure.